guys, and welcome back to Biologue. Hope you're having a great day and a great week. Today's video is going to be about MCQs, so we're going to solve some paper 2 questions. Now, if you like this video, like, share and subscribe to Biologue, and I'm happy to be back. It's been quite some time since I've uploaded because of my exams in May, June. So I am glad to be back. I hope you guys are doing well. So if you like this video, make sure you also comment and leave me ideas or suggestions on what types of videos I should do in the future. With that being said, let's just get right on to this week's video.
Alright, so let's start off with the first question. The diagram illustrates changes in air pressure taking place inside the lungs during a complete cycle of breathing. Atmospheric pressure is 101, so this is the normal. Okay, at which point in the diagram are the ribs beginning to be lowered? Okay, so basically in inhalation versus exhalation, okay, in inhalation what happens is the volume of the thoracic cavity increases so that the pressure decreases and the atmospheric air, right, the air can enter into the lungs. So inhalation, there will be air entering into the lungs, and this is mainly because volume has to increase for the pressure to decrease. All right, for the pressure to decrease, volume has to increase, and when volume has to increase, the ribs need to move outward. All right, this is what happens during inhalation, but when the ribs are lowered, they typically move inwards. So this is what happens during exhalation. Okay, and in exhalation, now the volume of the thoracic cavity decreases, and when volume decreases, the pressure starts to increase. That is why over here we are able to see a pressure increase. All right, so when it says beginning to be lowered, that means that the pressure is starting to be increased, right? It's going to start to increase. So that is why it is A, because it's just starting to increase beyond the atmospheric pressure. Alright, moving on to the next one. The diagram shows an experiment to investigate the response of a plant stem to gravity. So this is basically your unilateral stimulus here. Here you are able to see it's moving away from gravity. So negative geotropism. This is what happens in the first case. Alright, it is also in dark, meaning that there is no unilateral light stimulus, no unilateral light. So a suitable control for the experiment is always where the independent variable is absent, and the independent variable is something that we are changing. So here typically when we are checking the response of the plant stem to gravity, we will change the gravity. So gravity is the independent variable, what we are changing. Okay, so here in a control, the independent variable is absent, meaning the change to gravity, the unilateral gravity, the one directional gravity is, it's not there, right? It's absent. So this will mean that you have to use something called a clinostat, and a clinostat is a device that will actually rotate the plant in all directions so that there is no unilateral gravity stimulus and gravity's direction keeps changing. Okay, there is no one directional stimulus for the plant to act on, which is exactly what happens here. Right, in the first case, in A, there is a continuous rotation of the plant, so there's no one directional stimulus, so the plant just continues to move and grow like this straight. In the other cases, there was light. Okay, and why B and C are wrong is because obviously we are testing for gravity, right? So we are testing for gravity, which means, and always in an experiment only one variable needs to be independent, one variable needs to be changed, okay, to make the experiment accurate and fair. So here we cannot use light, okay, because now that would again add another independent variable and that would mess up your experiment, because we only want to measure the effect of gravity on the growth, on the response of a plant stem. Alright, here actually what happens is the same case. It is the exact same case as what is shown in the first one. Right, here also the gravity we know will always act in the downward, right? There's the effect over there. So it's literally the same case. There's nothing being changed as such. So it's not a control. The independent variable, which is the gravity, unidirectional gravity as such, is not there. Okay, so that is what we want from a control, right? we want that there is no unidirectional stimulus and there is the independent variable needs to be absent. Here the independent variable is not absent because the gravity is acting downwards still. Okay, here the gravity is still acting downwards, but the direction of rotation keeps changing. So the gravity doesn't have much of an effect over there because now there is no unilateral direction or unilateral stimulus to act on. Okay, now for this one, let us look at a more detailed one. Okay, so this one is the question, right? The diagram shows the inheritance of ABO blood groups and the blood groups of some of the individuals are given. What could be Priya's genotype? Okay, so these two have actually produced a child with B. Okay, which will mean obviously whichever one does not have B will be automatically cut off. So A and D are wrong. Now let us consider the so let's say this person's genotype is IAIA or IAIO. These are the only two options, right? Now you let's say take this as the first one. Okay, IAIA and IBIB. Let us do the cross. So this will give you AB, this will give you AB, this will give you AB and AB. Alright, so again see, this is either one possibility, but this is actually not a possibility. Sorry, this is not a possibility because look, every single child is AB, not one of their child is B. So this is wrong. Automatically this is wrong. Okay, let us look at the other case. IBIO, IAIA, IBIO. Okay, so this is AB, this is A, AB and A. Now this is one of the cases. If you try with the other one, IAIO, IBIO, AB, A, B and O, you're getting a B here. You do not get a B here. Okay, this is why C is the answer. Alright, IBIO, this is what we tested over here and we got B, one of the child as B. Alright, now moving on. The diagram shows a section of the blood vessel. Which type of blood vessel is shown and which direction does the blood flow in? So obviously now whenever you look at this, the valve's direction is important. Wherever the valves are opening, okay, they're opening outwards like this, right? Which means that the blood is flowing upwards. Automatically you should get that the blood is flowing upwards. Now, in the type of blood vessel, artery P to Q. No, it's not P to Q, it's Q to P, right? Automatically then these two get cut off. Artery from Q to P. See, now look at this. Arteries do not have valves, okay? Now this is actually kind of a tricky question because if you don't think about it initially, you will kind of get confused, okay? So arteries do not have valves, and this is actually something I did. This is a mistake that I did where I kind of got confused and I forgot that arteries do not have valves. So sometimes these kind of trick questions can come. Okay, so remember, arteries do not have valves because already they have a very high blood pressure, right? Already the blood is flowing at such a high pressure. So there is no need for valves to prevent the backflow of blood, okay? It's already such high pressure that the blood will move in one direction. But in a vein, the blood pressure is actually quite low. So you need a valve to prevent the backflow of blood, which is why this artery case is wrong. So the vein is the correct answer. Now the photomicrograph shows some red blood cells. What are the possible genotype combinations of this person? Okay, so sickle cell, this is a sickle cell trait, all right, or basically this is someone's genotype who actually has sickle cell anemia, because typically what happens is someone who does not have sickle cell anemia but has a sickle cell trait, which is someone who is a carrier of sickle cell anemia, will not have sickle cells, but they will have the allele that codes for the sickle cell trait. So when they reproduce, they'll pass on this allele to the next generation, and there is a chance that the child could inherit this allele, and if it is in the homozygous condition, they could get sickle cell anemia. So what happens is that they actually don't have sickle cells as such. Carriers do not have sickle cells, but they only have the allele for sickle cell anemia. Alright, so this is not a carrier, but this is rather someone who has sickle cell anemia, because now here there is a sickle cell here and there are few normal red blood cells. So HBS means that the person will fully have only sickle cells, but you're still able to see some normal red blood cells, so this is wrong. Okay, now again, carriers, right? Carriers will not have this. They will usually have normal red blood cells only, so this is wrong. If you had only the normal red blood cells, then you wouldn't see the sickle type of shape, right? So this is automatically wrong. So this is your answer. All right, HBA, yes. Why? Now because look at this. Okay, let us look at the cross actually. HBS. So this person will have sickle cell anemia. This person will also have sickle cell anemia. This person will have the trait, and this person will have the trait. Similarly, if we look at B, HBA, okay, SA, okay, or basically this is basically the genotype. We are assuming this, don't write this actually, but this is let's say the person who is a carrier. AS, AA. So there is a 50% chance that the person will be a carrier, and 50% chance that they have normal red blood cells. But remember that in this case there is so basically there's more likelihood of the person not having sickle cells. Why? Remember, because carriers do not usually have sickle cells. Here, okay, there is more likelihood of the person having sickle cells, because 50% chance is there that the person will get sickle cell anemia. Only other one is carriers, but here there is 50% chance of the person not having sickle cell anemia, having normal red blood cells. Okay, so it's based on the likelihood, because here you're able to see still some sickle cells in between the red blood cells. So even if in the photomicrograph it's showing you more red blood cells, there is still one sickle cell. That is important, remember. And a sickle cell carrier will not have any sickle cells. So this is obviously wrong, because now a sickle cell carrier has no sickle cells, and even this normal person who actually has who does not have sickle cell anemia, has normal red blood cells, will not have sickle cells. So this is why A is the answer. Moving on to the next question, the diagram shows a cross section through a plant root. What is found at Q and R? So I always try to remember like this. Okay, xylem is inside, phloem is outside. Okay, this is in the case of the root and also in the stem. Sorry about that. This is in the case of the root and in the stem typically, but not in the case of other things. Just remember, in the case of root and stem, xylem is typically inside, phloem is typically outside. Alright, so it's good if you just look at the diagram and then try to relate this with the diagram itself. Now the diagram shows a synapse. Heroin is a drug that can bind with the receptors in a synapse. What is the most likely effect heroin will have on the synapse? So heroin is a depressant. Depressant, what it does is when it is released, it does not bind with the receptors on the postsynaptic neurons. So it prevents binding. That is the main job of a receptor. That's the main job of a depressant, right? So the first one, it says causes impulse to travel back along neuron 1. No, it still kind of releases the neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are released, but the thing is they can't bind to the receptor. That is important. Okay, so they prevent neurotransmitters from binding to the receptors. Yes. Stop the impulse from being generated. No. Transfer impulse to a different neuron. Nope. Okay, so this is your answer. Now this is often one thing that you can get confused with. So which type of contact between humans can spread HIV? Now it's a common misconception that saliva can. So that is actually something that can be quite tricky and confusing if you don't know exactly what it is. So that is definitely wrong. So 3 is wrong. All right, so obviously you need to eliminate anything that contains 3. So you are left with A, right? Blood transfusion, yes, by sharing of needles, and sexual intercourse. Okay, now the diagram shows 2 antagonistic muscles in the direction of movement that they produce. Now this concept is not really there in the recent syllabus, but it was just a new question that I saw, so I wanted to share it with you guys, and it's good to know just in case. Which row correctly identifies these muscles and the direction of movement they produce in the contraction. So basically in contraction, now when you contract, when your arms move upward and they contract, your biceps actually contract and your triceps relax. The biceps are the one in the front, triceps are the ones in the bottom typically. So the biceps will contract and the triceps will relax and your hand will move upwards like this. Alright, so muscle P is a bicep, muscle Q is a tricep. Movement will be from R and triceps. So biceps will usually move upwards like this, triceps will move downwards like this. Okay, and the biceps will contract, triceps will relax. Now this one is important. Which pair of statements about energy flow in the ecosystem is correct? So now energy entering an ecosystem from the sun, light and chemical, no. Alright, when it is transferred through the food chain, then it is as chemical, right? Because then it transfers as food from one organism to another, and that is in the form of chemical energy. But when it comes from the sun, it is in the form of light and heat. Now this is important. Nature of energy flow. Nature of energy flow is actually non-cyclical. Non-cyclical means that the energy cannot be restored or reused like again and again, because some of the energy actually gets lost. We know that in the energy transfer between trophic levels, most of the energy is lost as heat or phases or in respiration, right? So it cannot be restored back into the system, which is why it is non-cyclical. So that is why D is your answer. Okay, now the diagram shows some veins in the human arm and the valves that they contain. If blood is squeezed out of section XY, where should the pressure be placed to stop the blood from flowing into the section again? So XY, this direction of the valves is important. When it's like this, we know that the blood is moving downward. So you have to apply pressure at C, because only if you apply pressure at C, the blood cannot move back like this. Okay, it cannot move back. This B and this D is obviously wrong. Now A, if you put the pressure at A, it wouldn't matter, because now here this thing is still open, this thing is still open. So there is still a chance that the thing can actually move upwards. But if you put it here, there is no chance that the blood can move downwards, because it's starting from here, right? So once it goes over here till here, and if you put a pressure at C, you can't allow it. Pressure kind of stops it from flowing in the same direction as it is flowing currently. So that would prevent it from moving back to its original position, which is C. So that is why you need to apply pressure at C itself. Alright, so moving on to the next one. Which pathway is taken by blood in a fish? Now this is single circulation of a fish. Usually you should remember this diagram over here. From the gills, the blood, oxygenated blood, will move to the body where it is used for metabolic processes. From the body, this will send the CO2, which is deoxygenated blood, to the heart, and then this will be sent back to the gills. So this is a single circulation because the blood passes through the heart only once in a complete circuit, in a complete cycle, right? So from the heart to the gills, to the body, and again to the heart. Alright, now this question is about inheritance. So if the allele for white fur is dominant, which animal must be heterozygous for gene controlling fur color? White is dominant, so you have to look at again the black ones, okay, will be homozygous recessive. Alright, homozygous recessive. So you're asking about heterozygous. Automatically these ones will get eliminated, because these, it is a recessive allele, so it can only be expressed when it is in the homozygous condition, which is small b. So looking at the two white mouses, which is A and C, which one is heterozygous is what you need to find. assuming that A is heterozygous, look at this, inheritance chart here. Assuming A is heterozygous and B was, obviously we know, the homozygous recessive, right? What you would get is actually 50% white and 50% black, okay? But here all of the offsprings are actually white, so this is wrong. But if you say that now C was actually one of the offsprings of A and B, right, which was here, one of the offsprings which was white. So here again, yes, this W small is heterozygous, so we can guarantee that C is heterozygous. And because of this, because the big W which codes for the white color is dominant over the small w that codes for black color, we can say that yes, this heterozygous one is white, so and it is C. All right, so that is why C is your answer. Okay, roots and leaves both act as a source and a sink for sucrose and amino acids at different times during the year. At which point is the root most active as a source? Okay, let us look at the first one. So in let's look at B actually. So in the summer month, the leaves are mature, which means that they can already photosynthesize. They do not need food from the root. All right, so this automatically goes. Autumn, leaf dies and falls, so there is no need of photosynthesis, right? There is no need of photosynthesis. There is no need to supply any food because nothing is growing, right? Nothing is growing, so there is no need to supply any food, which means that the root is not very active as a source. In winter, no leaves are present. Again, apply the same concept because there is nothing present, so the root does not need to really supply anything, so it's not really active as a source, right? But in spring, the leaves are still growing. They start to grow. They're in the growth stage. They're not still able to photosynthesize on their own, so they need food for their growth. And where do they get this food from? They get it from the tubers or the storage organs that are present in the root, right? This is where root acts as a more good source because it supplies the food for the leaves, new leaves, to grow in the spring season. That's why the answer is A. All right. Now the last question. The diagram shows breeding rat where the allele for grey fur is dominant to white fur. Okay. So which two individuals are definitely heterozygous for this color? So grey fur is dominant to white fur, meaning that obviously it's not possible for the white ones to be heterozygous. They have to be homozygous recessive. So automatically 1 and 4 are gone. Okay. Now let's say that you took 2 as heterozygous. All right. Let's say you took 2 as heterozygous. Now what would happen here is actually this, let's say, is 2. This is 1. So when you cross it, there is an equal chance of getting black and white, 50-50, right? 50%. But here, both of them have come out to be black. So there is lesser chance that 2 is actually a heterozygous, genotype rat. Now, if we look at 5, okay, 5 now is gray, right? Yeah, gray. So this still might have a chance, but now because 2 actually is, there's a less chance of 2 getting heterozygous genotype, so there's a less chance of 5 having a heterozygous genotype. In this one, compared to this, look at this, half is white, half is black, 50% chance of white, 50% chance of black. So there is definitely a chance, a better chance. You need to compare, okay? So compared to this one definitely has a better chance of 6 and 3 being heterozygous, which is why we need to just see definitely which one is more, so that you need to base it off of chance, right? So compared to the other one where it actually had black more than white, when the actual chance of getting black and white was only 50% each, okay, equal chances, that was shown in 3 and 6, right, where you got equal chance of black and white, equal number of black and white. But in the other case, you got only black and not white. So that is why 3 and 6 is correct. All right, and 3 and 6 is your answer. So D is your answer. All right, that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, do like, share, and subscribe to Biologue. And I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.